Hi, everybody. I'm Chad. I'm here with my professor, Dr. Mark Peterson. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be with you, Chad. Thank you.
We did the movie trailer reaction to The Man Standing Next.
Yes.
남산의 부장들 in Korean. Yeah, we finally figured, well, I guess we're not going to wait to meet in person. We're going to do this thing through Zoom. So we both watched the full film. I thought it would be good to get your historical perspective, some of the accuracies, the inaccuracies, what's there for entertainment, what's been embellished, what maybe is not true at all. And then from my side, I'm mostly just looking at kind of the entertainment value of the movie.
On the historical part of it, the movie has three sets. Part in Korea, there's a part in the United States, and then there's a part in Europe. I think the part in Korea is mostly accurate. The part of the United States has a basis of accuracy, but the timing is off of it. The part in Europe is mostly fantasy, I think.
Okay. When the movie starts out, pretty quickly they are in the US, and you have the former director of the KCIA testifying, right? Director Park, and he's claiming that South Korea has actually bribed many US politicians, congressmen, etc. What I'm curious, is there any truth to that you know of?
Yes.
Wow.
This is called the Korea Gate scandal of 1976. That's 3 years before Pak is assassinated in late 79.
Yeah.
The sequencing of that is just a little bit off because it sort of collapses that as if it just happened just before. There was a smooth socialite by the name of Paktong Son. He had some money and he had some influence and he was good at schmoozing. People liked him. He was fun to be around. Apparently, he went to the government and said, hey, I can do some things for you, for Korea, if I had a little bit more money.
Yeah.
His family was wealthy, but he apparently got an infusion of CIA money.
Okay.
A house that became a showplace. People had big parties there and a lot of people came. Influential people. Well, he convinced several Congress people he could contribute to their campaign. They would, be friends of Korea. The issue was Nixon, who left office in 74, had reduced the troop strength in Korea. The Vietnam War is raging, and Korea is nervous that even though they've sent troops to Vietnam to help the American cause there's going to be a withdrawal from Korea the way there's a withdrawal from Vietnam, and it's going to be left hanging in the wind. And so they felt it was important to do their influence peddling, and they did some of it legally and some of it under the shadows. That first scene is chronologically a little bit off, but has a seed of truth underneath it.
Right. Almost the very first scene where it's not even foreshadowing, but it's like moving forward to the last scene of the movie where you know that the president is going to be assassinated.
Yeah.
And then it kind of backtracks to the scene in America. I thought this movie did a really great job of building suspense, building drama.
Yeah, it got good reviews, and it was a pleasure to watch. And everybody knows some of it.
Yeah.
And everybody knows how it's going to end up. The European part of the story and all of that, sort of the spy angle, it was kind of a James Bond add-on to the thing. And that part was mostly fantasy, I think.
Okay.
I don't know of anything of going on in Europe at that point. Now, maybe there's some grain of truth they build on, but I think that's, more fantasy than reality. The part of the assassinating of Pak was very, very accurate. The press was controlled. You couldn't read it in the newspaper. I heard it from a newspaper man who couldn't write about it, but he could find out about it.
But he knew about it. Wow.
And he described what happened in that room in great detail. Who said what and who was sitting where, and diagrammed it. And later on, as the movies and the other people have described it, he had it exactly right.
Wow.
So I was in Gyeongju the night he was shot.
Wow.
In a hotel and woke up that morning. My wife and I woke up that morning with news on the radio that Pak had been shot. The accuracy of the final scene is quite good. One funny thing about it, though, is when they drove the cars into that safe house, sort of out of the way and up on the hills or somewhere like that wasn't where it was. It was right in the city. It was right close to the Blue House. And as time went by, people learned which house it was. And it was just a house in an ordinary neighborhood. The funny thing is that as people found out about it, people would drive by and look at it. Oh, this is the house. Oh, this is where Pak was shot. So what happened? They tore it down.
Wow. They just got rid of it. The assassination of the former KCIA director. For one, is that character real?
I think that's part of the fantasy.
Did somebody actually testify in front of Congress?
Yes.
They did.
Yes. But I don't think it was the former KCIA director. I think it was Paktong Son himself.
Okay.
The names are very, very similar to the actual person. Kim Jae-gyu was the CIA director that assassinated Pak, but in the movie he's Kim Jae-gyung.
Right.
So not far off. The other figure who's really pivotal in this was Pak Chung-hee's bodyguard.
Yes.
In the movie, his name is Kwak.
Right.
But in reality, his name was Cha.
Okay.
He was Cha Ji-chul. And Cha was Pak's bodyguard from the time that Cha was a captain and Pak was a general.
Okay, yeah, they kind of allude to that in the movie where they show older pictures of Kwak with Pak Chung-hee.
And when Pak's wife was assassinated, she was shot in an attempt to kill him, but the shooter didn't shoot his pistol very well. She kills poor Madame Yuke. And she was the most stabilizing influence in Pak's life.
Okay.
Even the people that disliked Pak liked Madame Yuke. Was very sophisticated, but when she was shot, Pak sort of went off the rails. His closest associate was this Kwak character, Cha, the Cha character. Cha was a tough guy. When the question comes up, the answer is always shoot him. Right. I don't know that they really assassinated that many people, but they were tough about crowd control. And the thing that was being discussed by Kim Jae-gyu before he shot Pak was demonstrations that were riled up all over the place.
Right.
The issue was not student demonstrations. That's sort of every day. But what was happening was the student demonstrations were spilling over into labor demonstrations. And it started in Pusan and Masan, where the popular demonstrations against Syngman Rhee started. And there was fear that these demonstrations were going to multiply and roll up into Seoul. And then when there were some demonstrations in the Sabuk mines up in Gangwon-do, and miners were demonstrating, then it's spreading beyond students and it becomes really serious. And that's what they were talking about. And Cha Ji-chul said, urban insurrection, you've got to mow them down. And Kim Jae-gyu was saying, no, you don't do that.
You can't do that, right.
And Kim Jae-gyu was, he's portrayed in this movie as a very sympathetic figure. He was a sensitive guy in a lot of ways. Although he was a general and a close associate of Pak, there's a story about him when he was a field commander, a general. He was in a helicopter flying over the DMZ. The singularity of the scene, the division of the country, the quiet of the DMZ, the division is flying over. It touched him, and he wrote a poem about it.
Wow.
So here we've got a poet general.
Right.
And I think Lee Byung-hun, the actor, was trying to portray a very sensitive and caring sort of person who was led to this assassination, not as a tough guy to, I'm going to go out there and smash this guy, but as a sensitive figure that I've got to do something. I'm one of the few that can save the nation in this scene. And so he was portrayed as a fairly sympathetic figure.
So I think this movie is definitely from the perspective as him, being the righteous martyr. So I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of bias towards that. I would imagine. I don't know for sure because I don't know the history as well.
I suppose in Korea there's about a solid third that really like Pak. There's probably a solid third that really dislike Pak. And the interesting thing is the third in the middle.
Right.
And this movie, if it was propaganda, designed to influence the ones in the middle.
Right. I could see that. I could see that for sure. For me, just because I don't know the history as well, I'm watching it for more of an entertainment point of view. So I'm curious in Korea, how many of these people are watching it for entertainment? How many are more of, trying to gain historical context from it? I really don't know.
It'll be interesting to see your comments on this, because you'll probably get some from this third and some from this third, and the ones in the middle will be the interesting ones to watch.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I really don't know. Again, I'm more of watching it for one, entertainment purposes, two, but to gain an overall general historical perspective while understanding that it is a film. It's a movie. It's meant to entertain. Not everything's going to be historically accurate. But it does help me certainly learn more about that time period and about what went on.
Well, I would say the movie was mostly accurate. I mean, Pak was shot by a director, and his hardliner supporter is depicted in the movie as well. It brings the consciousness forward and helps people to understand it. If anything, for younger people, it'll spark their curiosity. They can read up on it.
I fully agree with that, because that's what it was for me is, I very, very loosely knew the story, but there were so many details that I did not know. And since I've watched the film yesterday, I've gone back and I've researched as much as I can about it because I'm so curious about it now. It's such an interesting story. You want to know why certain choices were made, what's true, what's not true. So I think that's where these kind of, especially recent historical films, they really have a lot of benefit because 1978, 1979, this is not very long ago at all. Yeah. And if it does spark interest and it does help people learn more for their own, I think that's a very big positive.
What year were you born?
88.
Oh, see, 78, 79, 10 years before you were born. But 78, 79, I lived through that. I was living in Korea, and a lot of this stuff is living memory for me.
Yeah, so that's one question I have for you, because you get the perspective of, the inside story here. What was the perspective of the general public when this happened?
A little bit chaotic, yeah. And there was a lot of concern for what's going to happen. And there were people who were genuinely saddened by Pak's death. There were people that were exultant at Pak's death. Of course, this unfolds into the Chengdu Huan takeover and the Gwangju massacre. And bottom line is, I'm just really proud of Korea as a country that's developed a real democracy.
I think this movie, it has everything that you'd want in a film. It's suspenseful. There's great acting. Lee Byung-hun, I thought, was great. The other actors and actresses, I thought they were fantastic. Very apprehensive at the end, even though you already know what's going to happen. And I think that is a great testament to the film, that you know what's going to happen, but you're still stressed. You're still into it. This movie may have done a little bit better with international audiences if it provided a little bit more context. And maybe that's not their goal. Again, this is probably a film mostly meant for Korean audiences or those with at least some awareness of the history. So for me, I was able to pick up on what's going on. I was able to understand the context of the situation. I'm not quite sure that the film provides that.
Yeah.
So there were parts that I was unsure of, mainly being the last scene in the movie. The assassinations just happened. Originally, they're going to head back to the KCIA. And then they're like, well, maybe we should go to the army headquarters, right? And it turns out he makes the wrong choice because he flips around. It doesn't really say why. It shows he's a little bit shocked, a little bit overwhelmed, and heads back to the army headquarters instead of going to the KCIA. So later, I read about that and I remember oh yeah, this was considered to be potentially a big mistake. I'm curious on your perspective of that.
Well, it's factual.
Right.
Chung Se-hwa was the army commander, who was not in the dinner, but was nearby. And when the shooting started, Kim Jae-gyu went out to Chung Se-hwa and hopped in his car and said, let's go to CIA headquarters. And Chung Se-hwa said, oh, wow, yeah, let's go. Chung Se-hwa is portrayed as a bit of a hero through popular accounts, because on the way, he says, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right.
Something feels off.
And he talks Kim Jae-gyu into going to army headquarters for some reason. As it turns out, as soon as they get there, Chung Se-hwa signals his guys, hey, grab him. Kim Jae-gyu was, his attempts at getting away failed right off the bat, but who knows if he really wanted to get away. I think he knew it was all over.
Right. But it doesn't really get into, why he made that decision. And probably part of it that the movie doesn't get into it is it's probably hard to really know why he wasn't adamant about going to KCIA.
The movie was definitely sympathetic to the Kim Jae-gyu figure.
Yes.
People that don't like it, people that are more sympathetic to Pak, are going to call it propaganda.
Yeah.
But I like your take on it. It was entertaining. It was a suspenseful and interesting movie. In spite of whatever propaganda aspect of it, it was a great movie that describes a very important aspect of Korean history.
I agree. And I think maybe what I've gotten from what you're trying to say, you tell me if I'm wrong, is that, you know, mostly this is historically accurate. There's parts added for kind of the Hollywood emphasis. Maybe there's some political spin on it, but for the most part, a historically accurate movie, would you say?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And again, I think, you know, obviously people are going to have complaints with that, depending on, you know, what side you're on. And I totally understand that. But, you know, from my take, like I said, I think it's a movie that was very entertaining, very intense. They did a great job with it. It would not be out of place with a Hollywood movie at all. I think they did a fantastic job in making this like an intense, suspenseful, you know, kind of heart-pounding movie. So I really liked it. I really enjoyed Lee Byung-hun's acting. Again, my only complaint, I wish that it was a little more not tailored to American audiences or international audiences, but maybe if there was a little more, I don't know, backstory or context to just kind of open that door to international audiences, because I think Korean films are really putting themselves on the map. And this is one that I think is a really good movie.
Good movie.
Glad that we were able to do this kind of social distancing movie review together.
Yeah, it's always good to be with you, Chad. This is a lot of fun, and your channel is really doing great. You've got a lot of great viewers, so and you've helped me a lot to get my channel started, so I appreciate that. So
well, having you on is always a boost to my viewership. I know that my viewers, they love to come see and love to see the context that you provide, the historical kind of point of view. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yep. Yeah. Bye-bye.